On the afternoon of May 28, 585 BC, two massive ancient armies were locked in a brutal, close-quarters slaughter near a river in central Anatolia. Thousands of infantrymen were tearing into each other with spears and bronze shields in a grinding war of attrition. Then, at the height of the killing, the sun vanished. Midday light was abruptly swallowed by an expanding black void, plunging the entire battlefield into the pitch black of night. The reaction was immediate. Soldiers on both sides were overcome with terror, dropping their spears and shields to stare up at the sky. The momentum of the battle evaporated in seconds. This remains the only recorded instance in human history where a fleeting celestial shadow instantly and permanently ended a major imperial war. To understand the stakes, we have to look at the power vacuum in the Near East during the 6th century BC. Following the collapse of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, regional superpowers were aggressively competing for control over the Anatolian plateau. The combatants were the Median Empire from the east and the Lydian Kingdom from the west. This electrum coin is physical proof of that wealth. The Lydians are credited with being the first people to ever use coined money. The war began with a gruesome personal betrayal. A group of Scythian hunters, insulted by the Median king, murdered a prince, served his remains at a banquet, and fled. These hunters sought asylum in Lydia. When the Lydian king refused to extradite them, Cyaxares invaded. It triggered a 5-year military stalemate where neither empire could gain the upper hand. A war fueled by personal vengeance and imperial ambition had reached a bloody impasse, and it was finally decided by a force entirely indifferent to human affairs. By the 6th year of the war, the fighting had grown incredibly intense. The armies were fully engaged in what they expected to be a decisive encounter when the sky began to change. The moon's path of totality swept directly across the Earth, tracking over the Halys River battlefield. From the ground, the perspective was terrifying. For these soldiers, this wasn't orbital mechanics. It was an inexplicable sign of divine displeasure, turning the Earth dark mid-battle. This was the era of mythos, where every natural anomaly was interpreted as a direct message from the gods. To the Lydians and Medes, the vanishing sun was an unmistakable omen of celestial wrath. The mutual fear of divine retribution instantly overrode their military objectives. Both kings realized that continuing the slaughter under a darkened sky would invite total destruction, forcing an immediate ceasefire. But there is a massive intellectual twist to this story. While the armies cowered in fear, a Greek philosopher named Thales of Miletus had allegedly predicted this exact loss of daylight. Our primary source for this claim is the historian Herodotus. Writing about 150 years after the event, he recorded that Thales warned the Ionians that this transformation would happen, even identifying the specific year. Historians have long debated how he did it. The most common theory is the Saros cycle, a pattern of 223 lunar months tracking repeating eclipses. But it has a major flaw. It tells you when an eclipse happens, but not where the shadow falls. Predicting it for a specific battlefield was essentially impossible. Modern scholars are skeptical. Thales may have borrowed Babylonian data and made a lucky guess, or the legend of his prediction might have grown more impressive over the century after he died. However, the legend represents a massive philosophical milestone. It shows a human attempting to calculate the heavens and find a natural order, rather than simply surrendering to fear. On the battlefield, the terror of the eclipse quickly shifted into pragmatic diplomacy. Mediators from the powerful neighboring cities of Babylon and Cilicia stepped in to negotiate a permanent end to the war. This is the Halys River in modern-day Turkey. Under the terms of the peace treaty, this exact waterway became the permanent fortified border between the Lydian and Median empires. To seal the agreement, the kings arranged a royal marriage between their families. They then performed a sacred oath, making small cuts in their arms and licking each other's blood to create a bond of literal kinship. A fleeting shadow in the sky had created a hard border on the ground, reshaping the map of the Near East for generations. The 585 BC eclipse initiated an intellectual shift known as logos, the transition toward viewing the universe as a predictable, natural order governed by laws. This shift was so significant that science writers like Isaac Asimov described Thales' alleged prediction as the literal birth of science. This event provides a unique service to modern historians. Because orbital mechanics are constant, astronomers can mathematically run the solar system's clock backward. This precision means the battle serves as the absolute earliest event in human history datable to a specific day, May 28th. The cosmos forced a peace treaty in the ancient world, but by leaving a traceable shadow across the historical record, it provided a mathematical anchor used to synchronize the entire timeline of human history.